Captain Maya Rodriguez's breath fogged against her helmet visor as she moved through the ruins of New Damascus Colony. The setting suns cast long shadows across the devastated landscape, painting everything in shades of blood and rust. Her combat suit's sensors picked up nothing but debris and death, the aftermath of the latest battle between humanity and the Althian Empire. The mission was supposed to be simple: sweep for survivors, eliminate any remaining Althian forces, and tag valuable tech for retrieval. Standard protocol after every engagement. But something felt wrong about this battlefield. The destruction was too thorough, too precise. Maya paused beside a shattered crystalline structure, typical of Althian architecture. Her hand traced the intricate patterns that somehow survived the devastation. 5 years ago, humans and Althians had been peaceful trading partners. Now they were locked in a war that had already claimed millions of lives across 3 star systems. A fluctuation in her suit's bioscanner made her freeze. Something was alive down there, buried under the rubble. Maya drew her pulse rifle and approached cautiously, following the signal to its source. As she rounded a fallen column, she saw it, a hand, silver-scaled and elegant, protruding from beneath a collapsed wall. An Althian still alive. Standing orders were clear. No prisoners, no mercy. The Althians had made their position equally clear after the massacre at Proxima Colony. Maya raised her rifle, finger resting beside the trigger. The hand twitched, and a sound emerged from beneath the rubble, not a warrior's defiant snarl, but a pained whimper. Maya's rifle wavered. "Command's going to have my head for this," she muttered, slinging her weapon and beginning to clear the debris. It took 20 minutes of careful work before she uncovered the Althian warrior. Female, young by their standards, with iridescent scales in shades of silver and violet. Her armor was crushed on one side, and purple blood seeped from multiple wounds. The Althian's eyes, all 4 of them, opened slowly, revealing pupils of liquid gold. She tried to speak, but only managed a wet cough that brought more purple blood to her lips. "Don't move," Maya said, switching her suit's translator to Althian. "You've got internal injuries." She pulled out her medical scanner, running it over the alien's broken body. The readings were bad: multiple fractures, organ damage, severe blood loss. Without immediate treatment, the warrior would die within hours. The Althian's hand shot out with surprising strength, grabbing Maya's wrist. "Why?" she rasped in heavily accented English. "We are enemies." Maya looked down at her. In the dying light, the Althian's scales shimmered with an almost ethereal beauty. "Maybe I'm tired of enemies," she replied, prepping a universal coagulant from her med kit. "I'm Maya, you have a name." The warrior studied her for a long moment before responding. "Naira, was Scout Commander Naira." Another racking cough shook her frame. "Well, Scout Commander Naira, I'm about to save your life. Try not to stab me for it later." Maya injected the coagulant and began applying emergency trauma patches. "This is going to hurt." Naira's laugh was more of a pained hiss. "Everything hurts already." As Maya worked to stabilize her unlikely patient, her comm unit crackled to life. "Captain Rodriguez, report status." The voice of her XO, Lieutenant Chen, was tense. Maya looked down at Naira, who had slipped into unconsciousness. She thought of all the reasons this was a terrible idea: court-martial, execution for treason, the possibility that the Althian would kill her the moment she recovered. Then she thought of all the dead on both sides and how nothing would change if someone didn't take the first step. "Area secure," she replied. "No survivors, proceeding with sweep pattern Delta." "Confirmed, Captain. Extraction in 4 hours." Maya cut the comm and turned back to Naira. "All right, let's find somewhere safe before my conscience catches up with my common sense." She carefully lifted the Althian warrior, noting how light she was despite her impressive height. "And you better be worth the court-martial I'm going to face for this." As she carried Naira through the ruins, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she had just changed the course of not 1, but 2 civilizations. Whether for better or worse remained to be seen. Maya found shelter in the basement of an abandoned research facility, its thick walls offering protection from both the bitter cold of New Damascus's nights and potential scanning sweeps. She had stripped off her combat suit's outer layer to create a makeshift bed for Naira, whose condition remained critical despite the emergency treatment. The Althian warrior drifted in and out of consciousness, muttering in her native language. Maya's translator caught fragments. "Project Echo, betrayal. They must know." Each time Naira's eyes opened, they seemed more focused, more alert, but also more troubled. Maya checked her chronometer. 2 hours until extraction, and she still hadn't figured out what she was going to do. Saving an enemy combatant was bad enough, deserting her post would be unforgivable. But something about this situation felt wrong, like she had stumbled onto the edge of a much larger mystery. Naira suddenly gasped awake, all four eyes snapping open. She tried to sit up, but Maya's hand on her shoulder kept her down. "Easy," Maya said. "You'll tear open your wounds." "They're coming," Naira rasped, her scales rippling with anxiety. "Both sides, they can't let the truth escape." "What truth?" Maya leaned closer, studying the Althian's face. "What's Project Echo?" Naira's hand shot out, grabbing Maya's wrist. The touch of her scaled fingers was surprisingly warm. "Why did you save me, human, truly?" Maya considered her answer carefully. "Because something about this war feels wrong. The Althians I knew 5 years ago weren't bloodthirsty monsters. The massacre at Proxima Colony, it didn't fit your people's way of thinking." "It wasn't us." Naira's voice was barely a whisper. "We received the same reports about human atrocities against our colonies, but I found evidence. Project Echo, mercenaries." She broke into a coughing fit. Maya's blood ran cold. "Are you saying someone engineered this war?" Before Naira could answer, Maya's motion sensors pinged. Multiple contacts approaching from 2 directions. Her tactical display showed one group moving with human military precision, the other with the fluid grace of Althian warriors. "They found us," Maya muttered, checking her pulse rifle's charge. "Both sides, just like you said." Naira struggled to sit up, this time succeeding. "You should leave me, save yourself. I'm already condemned." Maya snorted. "Little late for that. I committed treason the moment I decided to help you. Besides," she added with a grim smile, "I hate leaving mysteries unsolved." She helped Naira to her feet, supporting most of the Althian's weight. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the old transit system, if we can reach it." An explosion rocked the building above them, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Maya's tactical display lit up with more contacts. They were surrounded. "Your people or mine?" Maya asked, already knowing the answer. "Both," Naira confirmed. "They work together now when it suits them, the real puppet masters." Maya led them toward the maintenance tunnel, her mind racing. Everything she thought she knew about the war was wrong. How many had died for a lie? How deep did this conspiracy go? They reached the tunnel entrance just as the first shots rang out above. Maya could hear boots on the stairs, orders being barked in both human and Althian languages. She sealed the door behind them, using her suit systems to fry the electronic lock. "Even if we escape," Naira said as they moved through the darkness, "where can we go? Both our peoples will hunt us." Maya activated her suit's illumination, casting strange shadows on the tunnel walls. "I have a contact in the outer colonies, someone who might believe us. But first we need proof, something concrete about Project Echo." "The proof is in my blood," Naira replied cryptically. "They modified us, experimented on captured warriors, made us more aggressive, less able to question orders. But the modifications weren't perfect. Some of us began to remember to resist." The sound of pursuit grew louder behind them. Maya checked her tactical display again. Their hunters were spreading out, trying to cut off all escape routes. She had trained with some of these people, trusted them with her life. Now they would kill her without hesitation. "If we survive this," Maya said, helping Naira over a fallen beam, "you're going to tell me everything. No more mysteries, no more half-truths." Naira's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "If we survive, Captain Maya Rodriguez, I will tell you things that will make you wish for ignorance." Another explosion shook the tunnel, closer this time. Maya tightened her grip on both Naira and her rifle. She had chosen this path the moment she decided to save the Althian's life. Now all she could do was see it through, wherever it led, and hope that the truth was worth the price they would both pay to reveal it. 3 days of running through New Damascus's abandoned transit tunnels had taken their toll. Maya's combat suit was running low on power, and Naira's wounds, though healing with remarkable speed, still limited their pace. They had emerged in the outskirts of the colony, where the dome's environmental shields flickered weakly, letting in the planet's harsh winds. Maya crouched behind a fallen transport, scanning the area with her suit's remaining sensors. The pursuit had never fully stopped, but they had managed to stay ahead of it. Barely. "Your technology," Naira said, studying Maya's suit with all four eyes. It's different from standard human military gear. Prototype, Maya replied, conserving her suit's power by switching to minimal life support. Part of a special operations program, probably why they're so desperate to kill us. Can't let anyone know their perfect soldier helped an enemy. Naira's scales shifted color slightly, a sign Maya had learned meant deep thought. Like what they did to my people, creating weapons they couldn't fully control. A distant explosion made them both tense. The hunters were getting closer again. Maya checked her tactical display one last time before the power cell finally died. Her suit was now just dead weight, but she couldn't risk abandoning it, not with the evidence it had recorded. The spaceport is 3 kilometers east, Maya said, helping Naira to her feet. If we can find a ship. They will have locked down all official transport, Naira interrupted. But I know of something else. When my scout team first arrived, we discovered an old mining vessel, pre-war. We marked it for later retrieval, but the attack happened first, Maya finished. Can you find it? Naira nodded, her head crest extending slightly, another gesture Maya was learning to read. The radiation from the old drive core masks it from most scans. It's how we missed it initially. They moved through the ruins carefully, Maya supporting Naira when needed. The Althean was still weak, but her warriors' training showed in every movement. They made an odd pair, a human in powered armor and an alien scout in ceremonial battle dress, both marked as traitors by their own people. Tell me about your world, Maya said during a brief rest. The real Althea, not the propaganda we were fed. Naira was silent for a moment, her scales rippling with memories. We were explorers once, like humans. The stars called to us and we answered. Our cities, her voice caught. Our cities were gardens reaching into the sky, crystal and light dancing together. We celebrated art, music, the beauty of discovery. What changed? Project Echo happened, slowly at first. Key military leaders began acting strangely, more aggressive. Then came the false reports of human attacks, carefully engineered to provoke response. By the time some of us began to suspect the truth, it was too late. The modified warriors had taken control. A series of sharp cracks echoed through the ruins, pulse rifle fire. Close, too close. They're hurting us, Maya realized, checking her nearly depleted ammunition. Driving us towards something. Naira's head crest flattened, danger. The mining vessel is just ahead if we can reach it. More shots, closer now. Maya saw movement in her peripheral vision, armored figures moving with inhuman grace. Modified warriors like Naira had described. Run, Maya ordered, raising her rifle. I'll hold them off. Naira grabbed her arm, scales flashing with emotion. No, we both go or neither does. I will not abandon the one who saved me. Maya wanted to argue, but there was no time. They sprinted toward the coordinates Naira had given, pulse fire tracking their movement. Maya's armor, now nothing but dead weight, slowed her down. She saw Naira stumble, purple blood seeping through her bandages. The mining vessel appeared ahead of them, half buried in rubble. Its hull was scarred but intact, its ancient system still humming with potential life. They were almost there when the first modified warrior landed in front of them. It was human in shape, but its movements were wrong, too fluid, too precise. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. Behind them, Maya heard the distinctive sound of Althean energy weapons powering up. The experiment ends here, the modified warrior said, its voice a horrifying blend of human and machine. Surrender for processing and your deaths will be quick. Maya looked at Naira, saw her own determination reflected in those alien eyes. They had come too far, learned too much to give up now. The truth had to reach someone who could use it. Ready, Maya whispered. Naira's scales rippled with what Maya now recognized as a smile. Together, human, we fight together. The mining vessel waited, their last hope of escape. But first, they would have to get past the monsters their own people had become. Maya tightened her grip on her rifle, and together they charged. The mining vessel's ancient engines groaned as Maya pushed them beyond their intended limits. Behind them, 3 pursuit craft followed through New Damascus's debris field, their weapons leaving burning trails in the void. In the co-pilot's seat, Naira worked frantically to decrypt the data they had stolen during their escape. Tell me we got something worth dying for, Maya said, rolling the ship to avoid another burst of plasma fire. The hull creaked ominously, it wasn't designed for combat maneuvers. Naira's scales flickered with excitement. Project Echo's core files, the truth, all of it, the Helios Corporation, they orchestrated everything. The mining company, Maya's hands tightened on the controls. They had contracts with both our governments before the war. More than contracts. Naira's voice was tight with anger. They found something in the deep mines of Proxima, ancient technology beyond either of our civilizations, but they needed test subjects to understand it. Another blast rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across the console as one of the engines began to fail. Maya diverted power from life support to keep them moving, knowing they had minutes at most before the oxygen grew too thin. The modified warriors, Maya said, understanding dawning. They weren't just making them more aggressive, they were trying to integrate that ancient tech into living subjects. Yes, but they needed a war to hide their experiments, to provide specimens. Naira's scales had gone pale with rage. They engineered conflicts, used advanced AI to manipulate communications, created false evidence of atrocities on both sides. Maya thought of all the battles she'd fought, the friends she'd lost, the hate she'd carried, all for a corporation's greed. How deep does their control go? To the highest levels of both our military commands, the modified warriors, they're only the beginning. Some of our leaders have been replaced, enhanced. They're not fully themselves anymore. The pursuing ships were getting closer. Maya could see more vessels approaching from the direction of the orbital stations. Their stolen mining ship wouldn't stand a chance against a real military blockade. The data has to reach someone who can expose this, Maya said, plotting a desperate course toward the system's edge. Someone they haven't corrupted yet. There might be one. Naira's hands moved across the console, bringing up a secure communication frequency. Ambassador Kira. She represented Althea in the peace talks before the war. She went into exile when the military coup happened, claimed our leaders had been compromised. Everyone thought she was mad. She wasn't. Maya dodged another volley of fire. Can you reach her? If the quantum comm array still works. Naira began the transmission sequence, but a direct hit to their rear section interrupted her work. Alarms blared as atmosphere began venting from multiple breaches. Seal the bridge, Maya ordered, activating emergency bulkheads. We can't lose that data. Naira worked quickly, her movements precise despite her injuries. Transmission initiating, but they're going to board us before it completes. The files are too large, too heavily encrypted. Maya checked their weapons, minimal point defense systems, nothing that could hold off a military boarding party. Her combat suit was still dead, and they had used most of their remaining ammunition during the escape. The odds were impossible. Then she saw it, a maintenance shaft leading to the engine core. A desperate plan formed in her mind. How long to transmit the essential data? Just the proof of Helios's involvement and the modified warriors. Naira calculated quickly. 3 minutes, maybe 4, but they'll be through the hull before then. Maya stood, checking the seals on her suit one last time. Get to the emergency pod, start the transmission. I'll buy you the time. No, Naira rose as well, her scales shifting to deep crimson, the color of battle rage. We fight together, remember. Not this time. Maya's voice was firm. One of us has to survive to make sure the truth gets out. You know what they're doing to your people, you have to stop it. Naira stared at her with all 4 eyes, emotions rippling across her scales in waves of color. Then, moving with surprising speed, she pressed her forehead to Maya's, a sacred gesture among her people. Your mercy saved more than my life, Naira said softly. It may save both our civilizations. The ship shuddered as magnetic grapples attached to the hull. They could hear the cutting beams starting their work. Maya checked her rifle one last time. 4 minutes, she said. Get to the pod, don't waste this chance. Naira hesitated for a moment longer, then moved swiftly toward the escape pod. Maya headed in the opposite direction, toward the engine core. She could hear the boarding party breaching the outer hull, their heavy footsteps echoing through the dying ship. The truth about Project Echo would reach Ambassador Kira. The war would end. Both their peoples would be free of Helios's manipulation. All it would cost was one former captain's life, a price Maya was more than willing to pay. She reached the engine core and began overloading the systems. Behind her, the first modified warriors broke through the internal doors. Maya turned to face them, smile fierce. Come on then, she whispered. Let's see what your upgrades can do against a fully armed fusion core. 3 months after the explosion that destroyed the mining vessel, Ambassador Kira stood before the combined council of human and Althian leaders. The chamber, located on neutral territory in the Centauri system, hummed with tension. On display screens throughout the room, evidence of Helios Corporation's manipulation played in a damning loop. In the front row, Naira watched as decades of deception unraveled. Her scales, still bearing scars from her near death on New Damascus, shifted between colors of grief and vindication. The data they had transmitted had done more than expose Project Echo. It had provided the key to identifying and revering the modifications in affected warriors. The war between our peoples was orchestrated, Kira's voice rang through the chamber. Helios Corporation used advanced artificial intelligence and ancient technology to manipulate both sides, creating an endless conflict to fuel their experiments. But their plan failed, thanks to 2 soldiers who chose to trust rather than hate. The screens showed security footage from New Damascus, Maya carrying an injured Naira through the ruins, choosing mercy over orders. The final transmission from the mining vessel played next, Maya's last stand in the engine core, buying time with her life to ensure the truth would survive. Captain Maya Rodriguez gave her life to end this war, Kira continued. She proved that even in our darkest hour, compassion remains our greatest strength. But Naira wasn't listening anymore. Her attention was fixed on a figure that had just entered through a side door of the chamber, a figure in a damaged combat suit, moving with a slight limp but very much alive. Maya Rodriguez smiled tiredly as she made her way to stand beside Naira. "Sorry I'm late. Recovering from radiation exposure takes longer than I expected." Naira's scales blazed with joy, all 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "How?" "That maintenance shaft I used to reach the engine core, turned out it connected to an old emergency ejection system, triggered it just before the core went critical." Maya shrugged. "Spent 2 months in a medical pod, but the doctors say I'll make a full recovery." "You might have mentioned you were alive sooner," Naira said, but her scales rippled with happiness. "Had to stay hidden until we were sure we'd rooted out all of Helios's agents. Besides," Maya grinned, "I hear you've been busy, leading the rehabilitation program for the modified warriors. They are victims like I was. They deserve a chance to reclaim themselves." Naira's expression grew serious. "Many still struggle with the changes forced upon them. The path to healing will be long." Above them, Ambassador Kira was outlining the terms of a new peace treaty. Not just an end to hostilities, but a true alliance between humans and Althians. Joint scientific missions would replace military operations. The ancient technology Helios had abused would be studied openly, ethically, by both species working together. "Think it will last?" Maya asked softly. "Peace, I mean." Naira's scales shifted to a deep, calm blue. "It will require work, trust, understanding, but we have proved it is possible. One act of mercy changed everything." Maya thought of that moment in the ruins when she had chosen to save rather than kill. Such a small decision, but it had rippled outward, transforming 2 civilizations. "We're not so different in the end. Both our peoples just wanted to explore, to discover, to grow. And now we can, together." Naira extended her hand in the human gesture of friendship she had learned. "Partners." Maya took the offered hand, remembering how strange those scaled fingers had felt the first time. Now the touch was familiar, comforting. Partners. Around them, the chamber erupted in applause as the peace treaty was signed. The war that had consumed both their peoples for 5 years was officially over. But for Maya and Naira, peace had begun in the ruins of New Damascus, when one soldier had chosen to see beyond the boundaries of friend and foe. In the years that followed, their story would be told countless times, the human captain and the Althian warrior who had uncovered the truth through trust and sacrifice. But perhaps more importantly, they became living proof that the greatest victories are won not through force of arms, but through the courage to show mercy when the world demands violence. As the new era dawned, Maya and Naira stood together, representatives of what their peoples could become. The stars beckoned once again, not as battlefields to be conquered, but as frontiers to be explored by 2 civilizations united in purpose and understanding. The echo of that first act of mercy would resonate through generations, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, compassion has the power to change the course of history.